Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Ladita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे। I was born in the darkest of the special master of the prospect of my life, respectful obeisances unto him. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire who can fulfill the desires of everyone. They are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim yatkripātam vande Shri Gurum Dintaram. All right, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, we were discussing this chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga. So here we have completed till verse number 21. So in the first section, we heard about how Arjuna was confused whether he should renounce work or he should do work as Nishkam Karma. Then we heard that in the Mithyachara, Krishna told that if you will renounce when you are immature, then actually it is just like Falgu Vairagya, basically Mithyachara, basically. So meaning your mind will still dwell on the object of sense enjoyment and you are pretending externally to give those objects up. So after that, Krishna gives the cycle that how even if you go to forest, you are still dependent on your prescribed duty. And that comes from yagna and you have to perform yagna. So you have to perform your duty no matter what, Krishna. And then we heard...
Mataji, are you sharing your screen, Mataji?
Oh no, wait 1 second. Let me share my screen. My screen share. So this is just the... So Karma Yoga, 3rd chapter, from 1 to 9, Krishna spoke about like Arjuna posed a question whether I should work or renounce. Then Krishna was speaking that you have to do work as sacrifice, like this very important verse number 9. Work has to be done as sacrifice, otherwise it will bind you in this material existence. Then from 10 to 16, Krishna spoke from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga, basically. That how the creation, in the beginning, he created demigods and the living entities, and one has to offer everything first. And we heard very important verse about offering, meaning offering whatever is cooked, that should be first offered to the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, we will be eating sin only. And then Krishna gave the cycle that how in order to sustain, we have to eat food, and food, the grains are dependent on the rain, and rain is dependent on the yagna, and yagna is coming out of the prescribed duty. Prescribed duties are described in the Vedas, and Vedas are coming from the Lord, that cycle. And Krishna spoke that if somebody does not follow that cycle in human life, then it is, your life is in vain, actually. And then Krishna's, the section that we have been doing, 17 to 35, where Krishna is describing about Nishkam Karma, that one should act out of duty and detachment, and to set, even though, okay, I am a pure devotee, like Arjuna is a pure devotee, he can go renounce and live in the forest. But Krishna said, no, still you should do your duty in order to set an example. And he gives the example of Janak Maharaj and himself, like this verse number 21 that we did last time. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all world pursue. So very important, verse 21. So now we will continue from verse 22 onwards. Let's see how far we go. I don't know if somebody read or not, because last week we didn't have this discussion. We read all the translations because of Gita Jayanti. So if somebody has read and would like to start the discussion, you are welcome.
I read it, Mataji, but I just took notes from the translation only. Even though I read the purport, but I didn't take a notes from the purport. Shall I just read out whatever I took?
No, something that you remember, like, I mean, maybe something that was prominent for you that came up.
So the prominent thing is Krishna wants, even though a person gets enlightened, they should act as an example for the others, and they should perform the duty like an ignorant, but without bondage. So as to set an example for them. And also the enlightened person should not go and tell the ignorant that ignorant that you have to do the work without the fruitful result and everything. We should not ask them to get attached or detached from things immediately. It should be under a regulated rule and principles they have to follow and then do it. Like they have to cook food like they are doing it already, but they have to offer it to God and then eat it. Like through regulated principles, the enlightened person has to train them. No, the enlightened person should not go and say, okay, they can teach what is dharma and not dharma, but not ask them to do their karma without fruitful result, because their mind has to come to that level of understanding this.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah, very nice. Actually, that is what it is going to be. So,
And one more thing that is so good about the 30th verses is saying, like, we need to surrender everything to God. Enlightened person, we like they should have a full knowledge of God without desire for profit. They should do their actions, and they should not climb for proprietorship, and they should not they should be free from lethargy. So these are all the four things they have to remember, that while doing that it is a service for God, and we should not desire for the profit for the action that we are doing, and we should not claim the proprietorship. I am doing this, and we should be free from lethargy, like not laziness. This is all, Mataji.
yeah, very nice. So, someone else have something to share, or maybe what we can do, we can read the translations from 22 to 30, and then we will discuss further. Okay, someone wants to read? Okay, I can read.
I can read, Mataji.
Sure.
O son of Pratha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems. No, nor I am in want in anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duty. For if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duty, O Pratha, certainly all men would follow my path. If I did not perform prescribed duty, all these would be put to
Ruination.
I would be the case of creating
Cause,
unwanted.
I would be the
Oh,
cause.
sorry. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. As the ignorant perform their duty with attachment to result, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment for the sake of leading people on the right path, so as not to
Disrupt.
disrupt the mind of ignorant men attachment to the fruitive result of prescribed duties. A learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sort of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. One who is in the knowledge of the absolute truth, who mighty armed, does not engage himself in the sense and sense gratifications, knowing well the difference between work in devotion and work for fruitive result. Bewildered by the mode of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in the material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them. Although these duties are inferior due to the performer lack of knowledge. Therefore, O Arjun, surrendering all your work unto me with full knowledge of me without desire for profit, with no claim to proprietorship, and free from lethargy fight. Those persons.
Wait. So
Okay.
discuss until this 22 to 31st. All right, someone wants to say something.
Mataji, I remember now. So in one of the purport, it said that even though Krishna don't want to disturb the ignorant, the Krishna conscious people has to go and help them, right, Mataji?
Yeah.
Why we have to do that action against what Krishna said?
No. Basically, like what Krishna is speaking, that do not disrupt, like here, I do not, so not to disrupt the minds of this one, right? In verse number 26.
I think so, Mataji.
So basically, like we don't ask people to stop what they are doing. So, but we should somehow, without their knowledge, like for example, those people who don't believe in Krishna, who don't take care of that they should offer everything to Krishna. So like we can offer them something which is already a prasad without telling them that this is prasad, right?
Okay. So like somehow, that we have to engage them.
Yeah. Like for example, some sannyasi or somebody is coming, we can ask them, oh, can you bring some water bottles or something like that, right? So that will be unknowingly they are engaging in devotional service without knowledge, right?
Okay, Mataji, I got that.
Yeah.
May I add to this question? I have heard when this question was answered by one lecturer, and he said that Krishna will never impose himself onto anyone, and he will not drag people towards the spiritual world if they do not want to. He will not force them over there. Therefore, he says to his devotees, do not disturb their minds. If they don't want, do not disturb. But the Prabhupada commands to do this against Krishna's will because he knows Krishna's heart. And Krishna's heart is that Krishna wants everyone to be happy. And the only way that everyone can be happy is to be with Krishna. So Prabhupada knows Krishna's heart and his true desire. Therefore, he makes this command against what Krishna says. I've heard this from a teacher.
Yeah, and in 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that, this Bhagavad Gita should be discussed only among devotees, right? Then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes this, what you are saying, Gayatri Mataji, that because actually in the heart of heart, Krishna wants everybody to come back to him, right? Yeah, here it is. Although the ignorant man is not to be disturbed in his activities, a slightly developed Krishna conscious person may directly be engaged in the service of the Lord without waiting for other Vedic formulas. For this fortunate man, there is no need to follow the Vedic rituals because by direct Krishna consciousness, one can have all the results. One, yes, Gayatri Mataji, yeah, like that's, but in 18th chapter in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that exactly that what you are saying. Yeah. Thank you. Anything else? So
I could say something which moved me in this, not
yeah.
moved me, but something which amazed me. To me, the most striking was the verse number 27. Is that
27,
anything that is done in this world is actually not done by us, but by the gunas. Because I'm looking at my body and I'm, for example, I'm moving the hand, I'm speaking to you, I'm reading the text, I'm able to put the letters together, I'm able to process what I'm reading, and then I'm able to give the response. For me, it is so difficult to realize that it is not my work. I want to contribute everything to myself, but everything what is done here is done by the gunas, not by myself. So to me, it's really difficult to comprehend this. And as far as I understand that, unless we really act understanding that here, I mean, if we are, unless we are under the influence of the gunas, we have no possibility to enter spiritual world. So I'm every time when I'm thinking of this, how high is the qualification to, to be Krishna's servant, I see that there is so much work to be done.
Yeah.
On myself, like the internal work.
Right. Yeah. So I, like in that context, many times I feel like, Krishna, the position of a devotee is so high. Actually, to be the servant of the Lord is more glorious than the Lord himself, kind of. So because see, Radharani is the topmost devotee of Krishna. And when Krishna saw that Radharani is millions and billions times more happy in serving Krishna than Krishna who is being served, and he comes in the mood of Radharani himself as Lord Chaitanya, right? So that really, like, many times when I think about this topic, that comes to my mind. And like when I was think of these verses here when Krishna is speaking, that even though we know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and he doesn't have to do anything because all his energies are doing everything, basically, he doesn't have to do anything. So that's what he's saying. There is no work prescribed for me in any of the worlds. And because he's already Atma Rama, he's completely satisfied, he's the source of everything, possessors of everything, and he doesn't need anything. Yet I am engaged in prescribed duties, and that is just to set an example. So Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is doing that. Then like Arjuna, who is the devotee of the Lord, then actually the devotees follow in the example, not imitate. So yeah, then there is a question out of these verses when Krishna is saying that we should act to set an example. So then followers, like Krishna here is saying that people have to follow an ideal, people have to follow somebody, right? Everybody has their role model. So then a question may arise that should one follow a behavior or the instruction, right? Should somebody be Anusharan or Anukaran? Basically, Anukaran is following the behavior, Anusharan is following the instructions. Like, for example, people can say, oh, Krishna married 16,108 wives and he had affairs with others wives. So should then what? It's Krishna's act. We are not supposed to follow his act, but we are supposed to follow his instruction. So in Bhagavatam 10th canto 33 chapter, there are some verses where this topic is discussed, which says, one who is not, let me pull those up so that we can see. 10:33 and 33, verse number 31 and 30. So let's see what 30 says. So it says that one who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruler personalities, even mentally. If out of foolishness an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will simply destroy himself. So means we should be not imitate. Just as a person who is not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison, right? We know that Lord Shiva, as Rudra, he drank the ocean of poison during the time of Samudra Manthan, milking ocean time. So, and then this one say, the statements of the Lord's empowered servants are always true and true, and the acts they perform are exemplary. So when consistent with those statements, meaning instructions, right? Therefore, one who is intelligent should carry out their instructions. So basically, we should follow the instruction, not the behavior, not imitate Krishna when he is marrying 16,108 wives, and when he is what is that? When he is having affairs with unmarried or other person's wives, and then Krishna in verse number 25.
Mataji,
Uh-huh.
I have a question here, Mataji.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, in previous verses, he's saying like, if I don't do my prescribed duty, then men will follow me, right? Then it will comes to
Ruination.
unwanted population and ruination.
Yeah.
Again, we are saying that we should not follow.
No, follow the instruction. Follow the instruction. So what is Krishna saying? That if he does not, like Krishna is saying, okay, even though I have, so Arjuna was saying that, oh, I don't want to do my duty. So the whole problem is that Arjuna is thinking that he is a pure devotee, he is fully renounced, he can stop doing his duty and go to forest, right? That is what Arjuna is saying. And Krishna is giving an example that, okay, Arjuna, you are saying all this, but actually, even though you are a pure devotee, you are fully renounced, you can go to forest and just stop, live by yourself and maintain yourself and completely be focused on me. Then Krishna is giving Janak Maharaj's example, and now he's giving his example. I have no prescribed duty to do, but still I am doing it because people are going to follow me. Meaning, if Krishna does not do what Krishna is saying, if he does not do his duty of maintaining the worlds, and he is like a Kshatriya, Krishna as the king in Dwarka, means if he does not do his duty, if he then what will happen? People are going to follow him, and then what will happen? Outcome will not be good.
It's about the duty, not all the activities that Krishna does.
Yeah, it's a duty. Yeah,
it's a duty as a Kshatriya.
Yeah,
what Krishna
yeah,
is doing.
and the activities also, like, yeah, and that's why this question, the discussion about imitate and follow, meaning whatever Krishna is doing, we have to follow his instruction, not the activities actually.
Okay, Mataji.
Right. So when Krishna was there in Dwarka, he is the Supreme Lord. He has like such an opulence, 16,108 wives, and he's present in each and every palace, having different pastimes with different queens. But still he would get up early in the morning, do his puja. Whose puja he is going to do? He's going to do his own puja, right? Because we are supposed to worship the Supreme, right?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Yeah. So now in verse number 25, he is saying about that difference between an attached worker and a detached worker. So like we see the devotees also do the same thing. Pure devotees also do the same thing. They also have to eat. They also have to sleep, right? But there is a difference. The attached and detached. Detached worker, they will do it for the sake of duty and for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. But an attached person will do everything for their own sense enjoyment in a fruitive mentality way, right? So that is the difference. And he's saying that they will do with attachment for the results, but the detached person, the learned person, they will do it without attachment and for the sake of leading people on the right path, right? Arjuna is supposed to do it so that people will follow him and they will go towards Krishna, right? Yeah.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. So then again, this important verse number 26, we had already some discussion. To set an means now Krishna is telling, okay, what is the way to set an example? So in between verse number 25 and 26, what is Krishna speaking? Is that okay? Earlier we heard about that, okay, Krishna is acting to set an example, and Arjuna is asked to do that to set an example. So in 26, Krishna is answering that. So means you should not force people to, not stop. Oh, like, okay, first day we meet somebody and they come to our program. We shouldn't just tell, oh, you should stop doing your work. You should just become a brahmachari, or, you should move to the temple and all that. We shouldn't say, let them do what they are doing, but add little bit of Krishna in it, right? So how should the learned and detached deal with these? So how should we deal with such persons? Like we meet somebody right now, we are already, many of us are already practicing Krishna consciousness. So when we meet such people, so what should we do? Yeah, so a person with knowledge, he should actually, by his example and words, encourage the other person who are kind of attached to the results of work, to engage them in Krishna service. Like I gave the example, small little things we can ask them to do. So it will be like Agyat Sukriti, and they will make progress. Like little when they do, they will be able to move gradually. Somehow engage them in devotional service. Try to change people's consciousness, not their work. So basically, if we are appropriately relating with them, on the strength of that relationship, people will automatically change. So basically, we should not try to change their work, but we should try to address the consciousness, change their consciousness. So premature renunciation without spiritual realization, it will lead to degradation. If we ask them to stop working and, do something, okay, do more of preaching and all that stuff, then what will happen? It's a premature renunciation and it will lead to degradation. So it is actually, bhakti is so strong, and bhakti is not dependent on the externals. Basically, it's the internal part. Bhakti is a relationship. Yeah. All right. So now this verse number 27 is very, very important, because this is keeping us in this world. So we should try, if we can, if somebody wants to, can memorize the verse. Prakrite kriyamanani guna karmani sarvasha ahankar vimudatma karta miti manyate. Our Gayatri Mataji shared about this verse. So I'm thinking we should read the purport also. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by three modes of material nature. Purport: two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and the other in material consciousness, working on the same level, may appear to be working on the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective position. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that the mechanism of the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of Supreme Lord. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is the symptom of his nescience. He does not know that this gross and subtle body is the creation of material nature under the order of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, his bodily and mental activity should be engaged in service of Krishna in Krishna consciousness. The ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Rishi Kesha, or the master of the senses of the material body. For due to his long misuse of senses in sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna. So basically, our false ego makes us that we are the doer. We can act completely independently, right? So there are three personalities described, three things described in this verse. One is Supreme Lord, and then the living entity and matter, meaning three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance, the material energy of the Lord. So in this verse and the next verse, Krishna is actually describing attached versus the detached workers. So in here, we are seeing how the attached worker, they think themselves to be the independent doer. Because I think I am this body, I forget that actually there is a relationship that I have with Krishna, right? So attached worker, he is doing things by desire for one's own sense gratification, doing everything for his own sense enjoyment. But a detached worker, in the next verse, Krishna satisfaction. They work for Krishna's satisfaction. So the conviction of the attached worker is that it's because the false ego that he is the doer of everything. The attached worker, he thinks that he is the doer of everything. Like this verse is saying here, kartaham iti manyate, right? Ahankar vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Because of the false ego, one thinks that he is the doer because there is no sanction required. But if we kind of reflect and question and observe things, we will understand that no, I cannot do things on my own, right? So detached worker has a conviction that this material world is like, I am somehow or the other is put into this material world and I want to get out of it, right? So, and the attached worker, he does not know that the body is, like in the purport Srila Prabhupada is saying, that the body is produced by material nature, and it is completely, the material energy of Krishna works under Krishna's direction. Maya Adakshina Prakriti Suyate Sa Characharam, Krishna says in 9th chapter. And also Krishna says, Devi Eshi Gunamai Mama Maya Durathya Mami Vai Prapadyante Maya Mitan Tarantite. And on the other hand, the detached worker, he knows that his identity is that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And the attached worker in this verse number 27, Srila Prabhupada wrote here that they do not know that they are under the control of Krishna. But in the next verse, Krishna describes about the detached worker. They understand that actually somehow or other he is entrapped in this material nature. And in this verse, purport Srila Prabhupada says that attached worker, they take all the credit for doing everything as an independent, right? So basic, and the other one, the detached worker, they actually understand that it's all being orchestrated by Krishna, sanctioned by Krishna, right? And the attached worker, they engage in what? They do not engage the body, like Krishna Prabhupada writes here, do not engage their body in mental activity in service of Krishna because of forgetfulness of that Krishna is Rishikesha, master of the senses. But a detached worker, they would, they know and they engage their bodily and mental activity in service of Krishna. And what happens out of... Huh?
Remember one thing, Mataji, like I attended that 18-day Bhagavad Gita class from India sometime before. So there it's like if a person is slapping other person, that's a free will of one person who is slapping. He's supposed to do dharma, but he's doing adharma. But the slap is hitting the other person. It is depends on the God's will. It is God's will whether that hit has to reach the other person or it can miss also. So whoever receives the slaps, they should think that it is God's will. We should not take it as we should take it as God knows what is best for us, and that's why we are getting it for some karma that we did in the past. Not to take it in the negative side. Does it make sense, Mataji? I don't know.
Yeah, so and then in verse we discussed now 27, 28. So 28 is the opposite of 27. So those who are who have the knowledge of the Supreme Lord, they actually do not engage in sense gratification activity or fruitive activities. And then in 29th, Krishna, he is describing how does a detached man relate to a man in ignorance, right? So they are engaged in material activities, but a man who is in Krishna consciousness, they should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior. So basically, one should not stop them doing whatever they are doing. So why do the devotees voluntarily take up the task of dispelling the ignorance of the ignorant man? Out of compassion, like we discussed already. Gayatri Mataji also told. Why do they do that? Because Krishna actually want to bring them back to him. The innermost desire of Krishna is for us to come back to him. So now in verse number 30, Krishna is doing a conclusion that, okay, so basically Bhakti Yoga, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita in verse number, therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your work unto me with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims of proprietorship and free from lethargy, fight. So fight, but with right consciousness, right? What is the right consciousness? Without desire for profit, meaning if our consciousness is set to this one, that, okay, I don't want anything for myself, without desire for profit, without ownership, meaning it's like it's indicating passion actually, and then without being lethargic, this is ignorance, right? Then surrender all the works unto me. So basically Krishna here, Krishna is asking Arjuna to act on the platform of detachment and duty. But now his actual desire that Arjuna fight with devotion, right? Here Krishna is speaking like that. So let's read 31 to 35 also quickly. Someone wants to read?
Mataji had a question. So that verse, Hare Krishna, Mataji, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, Mataji. So on that verse number 27, we were talking about that we are not the doers. So because we are in the material world, we are the three modes of nature, and then we have the free will, and then it's the sanction of the Lord. In the spiritual world, would we be doing activities? Of course, it has to be sanctioned by the Lord, and we have the free will, but would we be doing because we are not under the influence of the three modes of nature?
Actually, we are the doer. We will hear in other chapter 18 also. We are responsible doers, basically. Means we cannot do, like in 18 chapter, we will hear 5 ingredients of an action. And in that 5th is most important, is without the sanction of the Lord, nothing happens. Means here we are not the independent doers, basically. The thing is that we are not independent doers. We do things, but we are not independent. So in this verse, purport Srila Prabhupada described, right? They think that they are the independent doers. But we cannot do anything if all the things are not present, especially the sanction of Krishna is not present.
Got it. So there also, spiritual world, we also still would not be independent. We always
No,
have
we are never going to be independent, no matter what. No matter what pure devotee we become, no matter what in spiritual, we can never, because a spark cannot be independent of the big fire, right? So
Yes,
Krishna
yes,
is the big fire and we are the sparks. The spark cannot sustain independent of the big fire.
yes, yes. Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. So let's quickly read 31 to 35.
I can read, Mataji.
Go ahead.
Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfections. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties. Sorry, Mataji. Than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous.
Yeah, very important actually. So, someone wants to say something before I.
Yeah, I can say,
Yes.
to me, this verse 33, 34 are very important. And here it's discussed that there are principles to regulate attachment and aversion. And I remember that in the purport, Prabhupada says that you should not be even attached to those principles because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So I did not understand this immediately, but I heard this example that imagine we compare two kind of people who follow the same regulative principles, but one follows them in a way that he squeezes everything possible from these regulative principles. And imagine that, for example, 1 spoon of coffee was allowed to be drinking per day. That person would wake up in the morning, drink the spoon of coffee, and then the whole day he will be thinking, oh, when can I get the next spoon? And he would be attached and squeezing out this 1 spoon and, like just thinking all the time about this, what he can squeeze out of those regulations, what is allowed. However, for example, another person, let's say he has some condition of the health, I don't know, maybe low blood pressure or something, and he, takes a medication which contains 1 spoon of coffee, I don't know, imagine, and he takes it not in order to enjoy it, but in order to sustain his body to serve Krishna. So the first person is going to, for sure, he is going to fall, and there will be some days where he will drink more than allowed because he squeezing, holding to that regulation. And then one day he will go over the line of what is allowed. However, the second person, if his intention is internal, like I know that I want to serve Krishna, he will not be attached and he will not fall under, like he will not fall beyond what is allowed. One more example, what is which I heard what was given. For example, sometimes we tell people, oh, please come on time, don't be late. So people who are really interested in knowledge, you don't have to tell them come in time, because they will be there half an hour before the program starts. I mean, half an hour before the lecture. So you don't have to even give them this regulation. However, people who are not so interested, you need to tell them there is such a regulation, be on time. And for them, this rule is important. So for people who are attached to external, for them, rules are important. For those who are already attached to the internal desire to serve Krishna, for them, rules do not basically, they don't have to follow the rule because they naturally follow them. They will be there like half an hour before the program starts. And yeah, that's why I wanted to say, that's how I understood this verse 33 and 34, not to be attached to these principles, because if you get attached to the principles, you squeeze out whatever is allowed, and sooner or later you will fall and go over the water.
Yeah, very nice example, Mataji. Like, thank you so much for sharing that, like, because it makes such a great impression when with the example, like you gave the example of the coffee.
It's important because I can see it in my own life when
yeah, it's very nice. Thank you so much, Gayatri Mataji. Yeah, so it's like it's real. Actually, somehow I feel this chapter is very, very important for all of us, because we are kind of, in this kind of a stage, right? I feel like, because we have to work basically. So this Bhagavad Gita is really very amazing, I think. And these discussions make it even more valuable. I mean, thank you all so much for this discussion and real association. So in 31, Krishna is describing what is the result of acting according to Krishna's instructions, right? So, and how to follow is with faith and without envy. That is what Krishna is speaking here. And what is the result? It will be freedom from all bondage. And then Krishna in 32, he is describing the defect of being unfaithful and envious in 32. But those who out of envy disregard these instructions, then what happens? What will happen? That they will be bereft of all knowledge and be fooled and ruined in their endeavors. Right? A disobedient person, what happens to them? However great they may be, what happens? Because they won't be able to understand the Supreme Lord or realize actually at all, because of the heart is not there at all. And 33, 34 we discussed already nicely. So yeah. All right. So, and 35 is again, because in 18th chapter also Krishna speaks similar words, that instead of like, because Arjuna is a Kshatriya basically, and he wants to do the duty of a Brahmana and Sannyasi. He's a Grihastha and he's a Kshatriya, and he doesn't want to do both of the duties basically. He wants to do the duty of a Brahmana and a renunciant, right? So that is what Krishna is saying, that even though there may be fault, and then in the 18th chapter further he will speak that no matter what in this material world, every duty has some fault. So it's better to do your own prescribed duty, right? Yeah. So basically, like, because we heard that how the yajnas are from prescribed duty, and prescribed duties are coming from Vedas, and Vedas are coming from the Supreme Lord. So one should do his duty. And also in the verse number 34, so there are regulations, and also in addition to what Gayatri Mataji was speaking with the example, that because like there is always a chance of an accident. So even on the rural road, we hear that there can be an accident. So we should practice them without attachment, right? Unattached. Yeah. So why is it better to follow our own duty imperfectly or even die than following another's duty perfectly? Because it's like, the function of doing the function of an eye with another organ, right? Like if we don't do our duty, but somebody else's duty, so it will be like, okay, the function of the eye, I want to do it with my ear or mouth or nose, something, right? So if we do our own prescribed duty, then there will be purification of the heart, and there will be elevation, and there will be no sin, and there will be satisfaction. Because see, like for example, my nature is to, suppose for example, is to study scriptures, but instead of studying scriptures, I go in the field of management. So it will not be satisfying for my heart. I will be going against, right? So many times we see, like especially in India, parents force their children to go for a particular type of career, like especially doctors and engineers. So, but when we see them later, most of the people, they say that, oh, I didn't want to do it, right? We all have experienced ourselves.
Yeah, Mataji, but maybe mine is very low level of thinking. I was thinking like, as a mom, first I have to take care of my kids. That's my first duty. Then going and doing service to in social activities, right, Mataji?
Yeah.
So, that's what
Yes.
I'm thinking when I
Yes.
read this.
Yeah. Anybody wants to add anything, say anything?
I want to ask something on this verse 35.
35? Yeah.
Yes, when you open this verse and, there is translation. So when it says that to follow others' path is dangerous, so the word dangerous in Sanskrit is bhaya avaha. I wanted to ask, since you're Hindi speakers, does bhaya avaha really means dangerous? Because I saw that bhaya means
fear.
So what does this word really mean? Because in Russian language, when the translation is, this translation in Russian language says that it's better to die than to fulfill other prescribed duties. To me, it's very what does it mean? Bhaya.
So I see this bhaya is fear, right? Bhaya is fear. Avaha means it can bring, like it means bringing. It will bring fear. So what, like something that will bring fear in our life is dangerous for us, right?
So you mean to say that if you fulfill someone else's duty, this this incites fear in us, or
yes, and then of course it will be dangerous, right? If it is inciting fear in me, like for example the knife, if we give a knife to the child, so it's going to bring fear and it's dangerous, right? So just that, like if we see the meaning of each word, the essence is, Prabhupada is writing in essence that it is going to bring danger to once, because there will be no satisfaction, and there will be no proper purification, and there will be still we may need to do more sinful activity than while doing our own prescribed duty, right? Like in second chapter, Krishna spoke that if you don't do your duty, then you will be incurring sin, actually, right? Krishna said.
Yes.
Yeah, so it will be more sinful, and that means it is dangerous to do more sinful activities, dangerous, right?
You know, in connection to this, I was actually thinking about the Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was the judge, and that case when he was judging that yogi. You remember that yogi who was very powerful, and that yogi told him that he will kill his children, right? And his children was sick. So thinking of this, he was doing his duty as a judge, even though there was such a danger to his children. And it's just how much power, how much faith the person should have to withstand that fear and doing his duty, what he must do.
I mean, and why was he so bold? Because he had faith in Krishna. He had that faith, okay, this is my duty, I have to do it, now it's up to Krishna. He was not attached, actually. He was not even doing his duty with an attachment, right?
But it's the life of a child is on.
No, but he had the faith, right? Because okay, if the child has to die, that child will die. We know that Mare Krishna Rakhi ke, Rakhi Krishna Mare ke means if Krishna wants to save somebody, nobody can kill that person. If Krishna wants to kill somebody, nobody can save, right?
Yes, and it's very
nobody can take, so
easy to talk about this, but in reality, it's just 1 in a million who can really do this when the child is in danger.
It's not easy. It's not easy, but when Krishna, you remember that there are 6 limbs of surrender. One is that I should do things which are favorable for my Krishna consciousness. Second one is I should avoid those things which are not favorable for my Krishna consciousness. Third is that Krishna is my maintainer. Fourth is Krishna is my protector. Fifth is humility, and sixth is complete surrender, like surrendering everything, right? These are the 6 limbs of surrender. And then the 2 are Krishna is my maintainer, Krishna is my protector. If I don't have, like Prahlad Maharaj's example, right? So he had full faith. He did not get scared of his father putting him in so many dangerous situations at all. He was not afraid at all. He was thrown from the cliff. He was thrown in the well full of snakes. He was trampled under the feet of so many big elephants. He was put in fire, right? Gayatri Mataji? That is faith in this thing that, okay, Krishna is my protector. Means purposely we don't put ourselves in danger. Like, I just close my eyes. Okay, Krishna will be saving me. I shouldn't do any work or anything. Krishna will feed me. I need to do my duty, but with detachment and faith and confidence in Krishna. I'm not there at all, but whatever. We are just talking. I wish to be there, but I'm not there yet.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah,
and I also, I just wanted to add one little thing regarding the question of Bhagavati Prabhu, that he asked if we ever going to be independent. One time I asked, I think Ishwari Radha was doing the program and some Prabhuji came to give lecture. So I asked him, here everything is allowed and carried out by Paramatma, I mean by Gunas, but under the supervision of Paramatma. And if we are going to be in the, in the spiritual world, is Paramatma is going to be doing the same thing there? So he said, no, Paramatma is not present there, but Krishna will do it by himself.
Yeah, because Krishna is there. Like here he is hiding in our hearts as Paramatma, but there Krishna himself is there. There actually we will be guided by the heart is already attracted to Krishna so much, right? Just like in Vrindavan, all gopis and all Vrajavasis, they would do everything for pleasure of Krishna only, right? Yeah.
Great analogy. Thank you, Mataji. Meaning, I was not thinking about Paramatma there. Yes, he's already there, person physically in front. So
yeah. Okay, anything 8:35 devotee, should we end here? I know a lot of people are missing, but if we keep, I thought that I was thinking that should we do it or not, but then I thought if we keep skipping, then maybe 2-3 months in a year will just go by like that. Right?
Yes,
I already missed the class so much. There wasn't like last week we just had
last week.
so I felt like there is some empty spot
I know.
inside me.
Yeah. So last week only for that reason I didn't do, because we were reading all the translations. So that's why I thought like maybe this week we can just do. Yeah, I really like this discussion, Gayatri Mataji, and all of you make it so lively with discussion. So even otherwise I will probably waste my time doing something, but it's so nice. And thank you so much for your I mean, I feel so inspired by you, Gayatri Mataji, for sharing what you share.
I also love these meetings because when people ask different questions and we discuss them, I see Bhagavad Gita with their eyes. And I would not come to this. I mean, I would not come to this angle. Yeah. And I see Krishna from, someone else has different relationship with Krishna, different from what I have. So I have that glimpse, so I know Krishna more. I really enjoy our meetings.
Haribol, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So we'll hopefully, Krishna willing, we will complete this chapter next week. And maybe we'll go to 4th also, because and that next section is also very, very relevant for all of us, very important. So I hope and pray that we can follow these instructions of Krishna to the best of our abilities. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha